All right, so this is the Alienware X17. I've been wanting to get this device in for a really long time. A couple months ago, I reached out to Dell. I'm like, hey, can you send a review unit over? They're like, yeah, sure. I waited. It never came. I started seeing it appear in stores. I started seeing people buy it in retail locations. I'm like, where's the review unit? And I started to get a little suspicious because companies do this thing where they don't send me devices when they know I'm going to take a steaming dump on it. Like, it's happened before in the past with other brands, and I'm like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is one of those products. So I go and buy it. I order one online, and then a week and a half after I order it, my order gets canceled. The reason's like, it's damaged in shipping or whatever, and they're gonna start a new order. I'm like, what is going on? Right? It honestly felt like they were trying to hide something. So I get this thing in finally, and my review on this thing was very thorough. More thorough than a regular device because I just felt like something had to be up, right? Okay, so Alienware X17, brand new product, like new design, new chassis, new thermal system, new everything. But it only comes with this white color on the exterior. It's a color that I like, and every time I've ever picked up an Alienware device over the past few years, I've gone for this color, but it's not for everyone. I do think it does show the kind of curvature and design language of the laptop better with like a lighter color. You can see the details a little bit better, but the interior also only comes in one color, and it is a dark, I want to say black, but it's not quite black. It's like this really, really dark gray that's got this speckled pattern to it. And this material is very prone to fingerprints. Now, I do like the look of it, but I am surprised that they only offer it in one color. Like in the past, Alienware's top-end devices have had 2, sometimes even 3 color options for the exterior, and it's just strange that they only offer one right now. This might change in the future. It could be because of manufacturing during the pandemic, but it is a little strange to me. Now, the tail end of the device still has that iconic Alienware look, so it's got that RGB trim light as well as the hexagonal grid for the exhaust. They have upgraded the trim light this year, so you can extensively customize the lighting on the rear of the device if you so choose. Okay, so when they first announced the X product, one of the first features they talked about was how thin this was going to be. It was like this, I think it was the thinnest product Alienware has ever put out. I think that was like the marketing terminology they used. And my initial reaction was like, that can't be good, right? Because Alienware devices have never been about thin. They've always been thicker, but they've been really, really well built. These things are super solid, right? And I thought that by going this thin, they would lose a lot of that structural tankiness, but it's super solid. This thing feels like a tank, and I'm actually surprised that they've been able to keep that structural rigidity while making it so thin. It is heavy. I mean, it's a 17-inch device, but it's built well. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to any bigger device. Good build quality, and they've done a good job in that front. Now, to get inside, the back panel comes off quite easily, but there's some good things and there's some less good things. So there's 2 NVMe slots, one of them being PCIe 4, so it can go super fast. The other one's just PCIe 3. But here's the weird stuff. So the X17 comes with a Wi-Fi card that's baked on, but removable RAM. The X15 is flipped. It's the reverse of that. It's got removable Wi-Fi, but the RAM is baked on. Now, neither of these cases are ideal, right? For the user, we want removable everything. It's strange to me that they did that. On the X17 in particular, baked Wi-Fi is never good. And the Wi-Fi card they went with, killer. Like, I would have swapped this out for just the regular stock Intel, but you can't. Now, the X17 is running 4 fans, 2 big ones and then 2 smaller ones. And in addition to these fans, they're also running a new thermal compound. It's a phase change material that's gallium-based. Now, I've never used this stuff. I've never seen this stuff outside of the X17, so I can't really comment on previous applications of it, but they've done a really fantastic job with this new thermal system on the X17. It cools incredibly well. Now, I don't know how much of that is due to the phase change material or if it's just because there's 4 fans in there just pulling out heat, doing work, but it's good. Better than I would have expected for Alienware because in their past, their devices have usually run hot, but it's not just compared to Alienware devices. Like, this is better than the competition. When it comes to 17-inch gaming devices, they're usually thicker and louder, but the X17 is able to keep up with some of the best stuff out there. Now, when it comes to overclocking, so if you look at any of my Alienware reviews I've done over the past few years, I tend not to even touch the overclocking options because the devices are usually at their thermal limit. If they're not overheating, they're close to it. So why push it even harder, right? But this year, because the X17's It had so much potential. I wanted to see how far this thing can go. So I bumped up the clock, threw in a bit of an undervolt, and I was getting some very impressive numbers. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you're someone who wants to repaste it or you just want to take a look at the thermal interface material, it is a flipped motherboard, so you have to do a fairly extensive disassembly if you want access to the CPU and GPU side. Okay, the battery. So this is a pretty big battery, and I got around 4.5 hours of battery life with my regular testing, but this is with the 4K panel. If you get one of the lower res screens, like the 1080p options, you'll probably get 10, maybe 15% more battery life on the device. The keyboard uses the same Cherry MX mechanical switches that we saw a few months ago on the last iteration of the 17-inch device. I really like these keys. They're not for everyone. It's got that, like, ping sound if you type super fast on it. I really like the feel of it, but it's something that if you're noise sensitive, like if you don't want a loud keyboard, this ain't the move. But I also think that if you don't like that type of tactility, like there's people out there that just don't like that type of clickiness to their keyboard, then you won't like this either. But I think most people will enjoy the typing experience and especially the gaming experience. This is a really nice keyboard to game on. It does not have a number pad. If you remember the last mechanical keyboard I showed you from these guys, they had a number pad on the 17-inch device. It's gone. I like that. I don't use number pads, but I feel like most people would prefer it to be on. I don't know. Okay, the one thing I do not like about this keyboard is the lack of backlighting on many of the secondary functions of these keys. So any of the F keys or even like the numerics, like if you want to use like the ampersand or the money sign, like if you're using any of those functions in the dark and you don't know it off the top of your head, it's impossible to see. You actually have to like tilt the screen, look at it with the glow from the screen. It's a thing. This needs to be fixed. But aside from that, keyboard is great. Okay, trackpad, this lights up. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this only lights up with the highest configurations, like the RTX 3080 configurations. It's cool, but I think they should have put it on the lower end configurations as well. Now, in terms of the screens, they have 3 options right now. They have a 4K panel and 2 1080p options. This one's the 4K panel, and it looks awesome. It's bright, it's very color accurate, and it's super fast. It's a nice screen. However, it doesn't have Advanced Optimus or any kind of mux switch. So if you're playing certain games at certain resolutions with the built-in display, you can be losing some frames. Now, personally, for the stuff that I play, it doesn't matter at all, but that's not the point. If you're buying a device with this caliber, right, this kind of price point, it should have it. And I feel like everyone else is doing it, all the competitors are capable of doing it, this doesn't have it. Now, there is a mid-tier option, like a 1080p 360 hertz panel that does support Advanced Optimus, which is great, but the 4K panel as well as the entry-level screen do not support the ability to connect it directly to the video card for the best possible performance. One thing else that I noticed, the panel, it's got reasonably thin bezels and whatever, but this cannot support one of those newer 16:10 aspect ratio screens. So down the line, if Alienware wants to stick in a taller screen, they'd have to redesign the whole front panel, which is a bit unfortunate. Okay, I just want to close off this video with the ports. So there's no ports on the side. Well, there's a power plug on the left and a headphone jack on the right, but all of the ports are on the back of the device. And I like it, but there's a couple things. Number one, the micro SD is in a really bad spot. You got to reach to the back of the device to plug it in and pull it out. So if you're transferring files frequently, it's a pain in the butt. But overall, the port selection is pretty good. Now, the AC adapter it comes with on the high-end model is a 330 watt AC adapter that is very big and very heavy. Now, if you get one of the lower spec X17s, like a 3060 or a 3070 equipped one, you get a smaller adapter. It's 240 watts, but it's also using the new gallium nitride based technology, right? So it's a thinner, smaller, more portable package. I really would have liked to have seen that tech in the 330 watt adapter as well. But you know what? Speaking of things I don't like about the X17, another big one for me is the software. I do not like Alienware's command center. It's cluttered, it's confusing, it's not intuitive, the lighting system is annoying to change, the software isn't great. If I'm being honest, I feel like Alienware has the worst software in the gaming laptop market right now. It's really bad. The other thing are the speakers. So if you notice, I didn't mention them, right? You don't even need to hear them. They're trash. But I will say this, it is strange to me that Alienware spent the time and the money and the resources to give you a rainbow trackpad, but they couldn't give you good speakers. Like MacBooks and like some Huawei devices, some Xiaomi devices have great speakers. How are they putting this stuff? Like everyone's got the same kind of trash speakers. They're all junk. It just kills me that this is what is appearing in a new device from Alienware where they had the opportunity to give you something brand new, right? but they give you the expected terrible gaming laptop speakers. Okay, so overall, I like this device a lot more than I ever thought I would. The pricing on it. So this is about $250 or $300 more than a competing product. Whether or not that's worth it to you, it's entirely up to your budget, right? But I will say this is hard to compare to other products because it's got such a unique look, it's such a unique thermal system, a unique design, unique lighting system. This is hard to compare like in the traditional sense when it comes to comparing laptops, but I like it. I like what I'm seeing. And when I thought that Alienware was trying to hide something, no way. The X17 is powerful, it's thin, it's capable, properly cooled. It's something that I just never would have expected to come out from Alienware, if I'm being completely honest, but it's here. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.